If you can't visualize what you're seeing and what you're heading for, then it's hard to stay consistent and it's hard to give all of your energies. It makes it challenging to bring your A game. And today we're talking about how visualization can help us to be consistent, how it can help us to continue doing what we need to do to be successful. I'm standing in the city of London, and right now I am just blocks away from the Eye of London. In the area where we're staying, you can actually walk to Big Ben. You can actually walk to the Thames River. As a matter of fact, off to my right is the Thames River, and the Eye is off to my right as well. And so we're going to take some time and kind of walk around. I'm going to have to find a different way to go because there are a lot of people here. We're going to try not to get them in the video, but hey, here we are. Remember, we're being consistent. Every day that you show up, every day that you're here, you're putting a new piece to the puzzle. You're being more consistent. You're being more proactive. You're being intentional. Remember, consistency is your superpower. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. Thank you for joining me. This is day number 77. All right, so we're going to try and see how this works. You guys will get a more of a view of me than you've usually gotten because there are people walking all around me and we're trying not to get them in the video. But so we're talking about the role of visualization in achieving our ultimate goal and to establish us for those long-term goals that we've been talking about. And so visualization is very important. As we've been talking about before, as we add texture, as we add color and taste and sights and sounds, and of course, as we add emotions, then our visualization takes on a life of its own. It takes on the ability to push us forward. It takes on the ability to help us to be consistent and to help us to, during those times when things may not go the way we think they should go. And I'm passing by, I'm gonna turn around so you guys can see some of the architecture that's right behind me. Actually, I'm not even sure which church this is. But we're staying at a hotel just down the street. This says we're on John Carpenter Street. So I'm gonna turn this way so you can get a, well, maybe not. Let's see. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna walk down here. And I think you'll get a different view. All right, so why is visualization powerful? Why is it such a powerful tool to help us with our success? Well, there are some signs that goes with visualization. Visualization isn't just a motivational thing. It's not just that we are just verbally trying to push ourselves forward. In fact, visualization has some powerful roots in our science and is backed by neuroscience. As we've been talking about, neuroplasticity is that space where we have the connections of various neurons, and those neurons, those connections can push us in directions that we would not normally go and be consistent with. But once those neurons begin to take shape and form, once they begin connecting with each other, then they become automatic, and they allow us the power to build routines that then that begin working even sometimes without our thought, because it becomes that connected, it becomes that automatic. And so studies show that the brain activity is similar whether we're physically doing something or whether we visualize or we mentally tell ourselves. You want to hear that? So if we are physically running or walking, or if we are physically doing something, then the brain has a certain neurochemistry that it produces. And when we visualize those very same things, science has shown that the brain also has the ability to function and send neurosignals almost, well, I shouldn't say, I keep saying almost, just like when we are doing that. And so when we begin visualizing, when we create this environment or create this thought or create a version of ourselves that is rich and full and deep, then the brain's chemistry begin acting and functioning as though that is something that is physically happening. And so that's the beauty of what we're talking about. And that's why you keep hearing me saying, when we are doing this visualization, we want to put as much structure, we want to put as much depth, we want to put as much color and sights and sounds and feels and texture to this thing. And of course, as we talked about in the last several, we want to put as much emotions in it as well. So for example, when athletes are visualizing their performance, they are actually putting in or creating for themselves an environment where they are successful. And so they're seeing themselves do that. And the brain begins to help the muscles work in that way. And the brain begins to tell the heart to work in a certain way. And the neurons and the bones and the hormones that are coming out are all designed to make that visualization come true. And so when they are visualizing, it's a powerful tool. If you want to achieve a goal, first, train your mind to see it as real. It's not, oh, if it happens, it's okay, this is what it is like when it happens. And when we do that, then our brains, our minds will go ahead and continue creating those environments for us so that we can be successful. That's the beauty. That's one of the beauties of visualization. And this is not out of this is not out of a storybook. This is not out of fiction. This is something that has been borne out by science. So what are 3 steps to practice? What are the 3 steps that we can use to practice visualization? All right, so number 1, we want to create a clear picture. In everything that we do, clarity is key. Clarity is king. And so even as we were doing our SMART goals, right? So it's specific, it's clear. When we talked about how clarity can help us to enhance and push ourselves towards success, being clear. When we're clear, we're more able to push forward. We have specific markers that we can look at. We have more objective data that we can use in our success. And so we want to be clear. So we want to make sure that we're creating a clear picture of what it looks like. This is not going to be vague. This is not like a blurry background that is out of focus in a picture. This is front and center. The thing that we want is clear. We want to make sure we are asking ourselves specific questions as we are rounding this out, as we are building this out. What is it going to look like, right? What does success look like for me? Not what it looks like for my cousin or my aunt or my mom or my dad, but what does my success look like? Even if we are shooting for the same goal in certain instances, we want to know what does it look like for us. Number 2, what do I see? What do I hear? What do I feel? What do I smell when I achieve my goal, right? So we want the richness that goes along with all of those feelings, because the more senses that we put in its space, the more likely our brain is to adapt that and to then push us in that direction. Let's see. They're doing some construction down that way, so we're going to move around a little bit. Right? So what we're doing is we are trying to put as many of our senses into this thing as possible. And then, who's with me? Right? Who do I celebrate with? Right? Who's at that space? When I finally get there, what does it look like? What are the people feeling? What are they telling me? Are we jumping? Are we laughing? Are we running? Are we dancing? Do we have music playing? Right? We want to make sure that all of those are in the space. Also, right, and this, we've been talking about this for lots of different things, but let's specifically now put our health in there. So many of you who've been watching, you've been talking about losing weight, you've been talking about improving blood sugars, you've been talking about your A1C, you've been talking about getting your getting your metabolic disease under control. What is that like for you? Right? What does the doctor say when you see him? Right? Is he excited for you? Does he tell you good job? Are we now taking you off of some of your other medications? What is that space like? You want to be as clear as possible as you're creating this and put as many of your senses in it. So if your goal is better health, imagine how you feel. Am I stronger? Do I feel more energetic? Am I able to do some things that I couldn't do before? Am I able to play basketball or football? Am I able to play baseball? Am I able to play with my grandchildren or my children? What does that look like for you? And as you continue putting that richness there, you will find that you are able to push through and do it much, much better and do much more consistently. And then use emotional connections to strengthen the memory and to strengthen the drive for this. Visualization works best when you connect it to some emotion. Now, this is not that it can't work, because there are people who visualize other things, but what a richness and what ease, I think, comes when we are able to connect the joy, connect the one of the things I do, and then let's go back to that and I'll give you that example. One of the things I do when I do my coaching is we do talk about what is it like if you don't achieve the goal, if you don't lose the weight, if you don't get the blood sugar under control, if you don't, right? So we talk about that. There are emotions that come with that. There are emotions of sadness, of guilt, of fear. But we also talk about what happens when it does happen, when it does come, right? So the reason we go through that exercise is because, and I'm exploring with you, right? As I'm moving down the streets here. This is my first time here, by the way. So I'm exploring the area around where we're staying. But yeah, so the reason that we do those exercises is because we're adding texture, we're adding emotions to those. The emotions that come if I don't achieve the goal, and the emotions that come if I do achieve the goal. And all of those are beneficial as we are trying to create this visual, this environment that we're looking for, in which we are going to be successful. Interesting little streets around here. I hope I can find my way back. You guys saw the map, right? So you can tell me how to get back? Okay, good. All right. Let's see what do we have over here. We got some more construction going on. All right, so in terms of the emotions that we're adding, right? So what detail do we want to add? Why does it really matter? What does it do for me? What does it do for me if I don't get it? What does it do for me if I do get it? And bring those into the space. What's at stake? What's at stake for me? Right? Those are questions of what happens if you do. So what are the positives? What are the negatives? So emotions fuel action. If your vision moves you, then it will drive you. Oh, that's a good one. If your vision moves you, then it will drive you. So one of the things that we talked about is that we often don't have behavior that simply comes from things that happen. Let me say that again. So something can happen, and there is no behavior that's elicited in us until we attach meaning to that event. Once we attach meaning to the event, the feelings that come create emotions. The emotions then are the things that drive our behavior, which drives our actions, which drives our outcome. Notice that it's not until the emotions come into play that we are able that we go ahead and we do the things we need to do. Whether those are behaviors that we are excited about, that set us up for success, or whether those are behaviors that we do that take us down another path. But it is once the emotions happen when we are able to, when those occur. And so once the emotions occur, then it gives fuel to all the downstream things. And that's why our mindset is so important, because our mindset, the way we see the world and the way we interact with the world, is what drives our interpretation, and ultimately that drives our feelings and our emotions and da-da-da-da, right? That make sense? Okay, so use emotions, and then practice visualization daily. So the things that we do don't just happen. We're not successful just because. Success is not just waiting on your doorstep for you to show up and then boom, it drops in your lap. Success comes because we practice, because we've tried, because we've done some things, that we've been in the process of rehearsing. One of the concepts that I'm so excited that I've learned comes from some of my military friends who talk about training in the military. And it is that the people who are sent out on missions aren't the people who just show up and they do it one day. Like these tactical units, and even with outside of the military, right? When I talk to people who are in law enforcement or in any kind of protective details, they say we practice. We go through the scenarios over and over and over and over again, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to build muscle memory. We're trying to build into us, into our brain, that when something happens, it doesn't have to stop and process, because it already knows, right? Those neurons have been configured, they've been attached, the myelin sheaths have solidified, they've gotten thicker, and so there is no issue that we have to worry about there, because it just happens. And that occurs because of practice. So you gotta practice, you gotta practice. Did I say practice? You gotta practice. You can't show up one day and decide that, okay, today I'm going to just be. I'll be successful. It is a consistent, here's that word, it is a superpower. It's a consistent superpower, and it occurs because you are rehearsing and you're doing it on a daily basis. So what you want to do is, as you're moving through the space, right, when you're doing the visualization, once you've created that picture, once you've created that vision of yourself or what it looks like, you want to make sure that you are that you're doing that daily, on a daily basis. What is your routine? Remember we talked about establishing a daily routine? So spend 5 minutes each morning and bring that visualization to bear. Pull it out, write it, circle it, draw it, maybe make several copies of it, and underline different parts of it. Each day, maybe you look at a different part. Each day you elucidate a different part. Each day you do a different word. Memorize it so that it becomes a part of you, and you're looking at that on a daily basis. All right, and then you want to continue with the journaling. So journaling is important because it allows you to do a 360-degree evaluation of this vision, right? And you will find that as you're going through the vision, each time you look at it, and each time I look at my visions, I am adding more detail. I'm pulling out this, I'm drawing this, I'm imagining, okay, this is a different color, I'm bringing texture to it, I'm bringing other resources to bear. All of those things happen as you are going through this over and over and over and over again. And then of course use visual cues, right? So as we've been talking about, the vision board that we did with our staff, it's there, it's on the wall, it's on the back of the refrigerator or back of the door. You may have something that you put on your refrigerator. All of that's important because you want to not have this as something that is tucked off in a drawer somewhere, but you want to see it, you want to feel it. And every time you move, you want it to jump out at you so that you know that it's still there. And so your brain is always in the process of looking and fixing and going for that goal, right? Because it's so familiar for that. So you want to use visual cues, vision boards, affirmations. Keep your vision alive. Don't let it just die. You did it once and now it's collecting dust in a drawer somewhere. And so we're back over at the Thames River. I deliberately went down the other way because there are a lot of people out here.
She was the one that I remember.
And a lot of cars. So let's see. I'm gonna turn around so you guys can see really quickly. All right, so that's the Thames River. And then off to my left over here, that's the Eye of London. You see it? I don't know if you can see it right. Yeah, right back there. That's the Eye of London. And let's see. I don't have a vision of Big Ben yet. All right, there we are. Okay. So create a clear picture. Use emotions, number 2. Practice visualization daily, number 3. So those are 3 steps in the process of effectively or doing visualization effectively. And then let's talk about how do we go about creating it, right? How do we use visualization to remain consistent? And this is the practical, right? We just talked about some theory, and some of it, you guys probably wrote it down already. But how do we go about doing that? So number 1, we want to visualize myself. I want to visualize myself. You want to visualize yourself taking action and not just succeeding. So when I do my visualization of going to St. Simon's Island, I could simply visualize myself on the island, but that's not what I do. You know what I do? I imagine taking time off from the office. I imagine planning the trip. I imagine calling to get the hotel room. I imagine packing and getting in the car and filling the car up. And imagine, what are we gonna do once we get over to the island? I imagine the trip, driving there and stopping on the way for gas and getting snacks. And I imagine, I think this is where we were before. And I imagine going across the bridge as we went to the island. And I imagine once we get there, what does the room look like? Which room are we in? Is it the same room as we had before? Does it, what does it smell like? What are we gonna eat for dinner the first night that we get there? What are the activities that, right? Notice what's happening. I am not just imagining myself there, because just imagining myself there, while it can help, it does not give me the richness, it does not give me the push, it does not give me all the detail that my brain can then grab on. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to create a momentary vision, I'm trying to create a story that is strong enough to push me along the way and push me down this road of where I need to be, okay? So don't just imagine being there, you want to imagine the actions that you're taking. Picture yourself waking up early in the morning. Picture yourself putting on your exercise clothes. Imagine yourself going down to the gym or into your workout room. Or imagine yourself, whatever it's going to be, imagine those things happening. And each of those actions, as you're imagining the actions, those begin to push you in the direction that you need to be. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, you want to use future pacing to stay motivated. What does that mean? That means that you are imagining how today's efforts are going to help you in the future. Yep. So you are predicting that if I do this now, this is what's going to happen to me in the future. So you're not just imagining yourself there, you're imagining, okay, what does this me have to do to get me there? And those actions that I do. When I go to bed sometimes, I go to bed, and when I first get into bed, I'm excited, because what I'm doing is I'm beginning to think about what benefits I'm going to get by resting, what benefits I'm going to get from the things I just planned for tomorrow, all of that becomes a part of the visualization. So it's not just, okay, this thing is going to happen down the road, but what actions am I doing right now? And how do those actions play out into the future? That's one of the things I said, my wife asked me, or told me to do. She said, what I want you to do is I want you to think, what would your future self say to your current self? Right? So if your future self can come back and say, hey, if my future self could come back and tell me something, what would it say? Right? This is the same idea. The actions that I'm doing right now, when I take those actions, what benefit do I get down the road in this process? That's called future pacing. And then you want to revisit your visualization when you feel discouraged. So those days are going to come. They will come, and we want to build them in. They are expected. They are anticipated. If we don't build them in, if we don't expect it, if we don't anticipate it, when it does happen, then we are in for a world of hurt, because we've not said to ourselves that this is going to be a part of the plan. Okay? So we want to make sure that we are revisiting that, which is why it's important to write it down, why it's important for us to make sure that we have a good way of documenting it and a good way of seeing what benefits or the progress that we've made, those milestones that we keep talking about. Because not only does looking at it and rehearsing it and examining it periodically give us good benefits, but it also allows us to refine and pivot and change, right? So all those things come when we are able to look at it again. So whenever the motivation dips, just pull it out. And hopefully you don't have to pull too far, because it's on your wall, it's on your vision board, it's on your calendar, it's in your journal, right? You've created an affirmation that's on the wall. You've created a statement. You've put an alarm in your, you put an alarm in your phone, and that alarm is going off, and it is reminding you of the things that you said that you were going to do. So it's not that I have to go far to find it. It's right there. It's right there, right? The stronger your vision is, the harder it is to quit. That's the bottom line. The stronger it is, the more robust it is, the harder it is for us to quit. And that is one of the pillars, right, of what we're doing. When we can put richness and fullness and depth to the things we do, then our consistency goes up 1,000-fold. Right? It is exponential in its ability to keep us going in what we are saying that we want to achieve. Oh man. That right there is a conversation visualization. I love that one. Right? But you guys are going to say, oh yeah, you say that about everything. And that's the beauty, right? That's the beauty of Keystone Principles. They all are full of richness, and they all give us that benefit that we are looking for in terms of our goal. Well, we can't ever leave without giving a challenge. So here's the challenge. Go ahead and grab your journal out. Make sure, let me get those people out of the back. We can't ever leave without a challenge. So go ahead and grab your journal. All right, we're going to write, and we're going to put those down. And so number one, right, so we're creating a journal for a visualization exercise. That's what we're doing. So number one, you want to describe your success in vivid detail. So all those things that we talked about. Who's there? What does it feel like? What does it look like? What does it smell like? What are the colors there? What are the textures to it? What are we doing? What do the people around me say to me? And what do I say to myself? Am I jumping? Am I dancing? Am I running? Am I rolling on the floor? Am I laughing? What does that feel like? What am I doing? Right? What am I wearing? That's a good one. What am I wearing? And what am I going to do to celebrate? All of that comes in our visualization. Make sure you're writing that down. Then number two, you want to write one emotional reason why this goal matters. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say let's write 2 reasons. Number 1, I want you to write something that happens if you don't achieve the goal. And then something that happens if you do achieve the goal. All right, both of those I want you to write. And I want you to stay with those statements. I want you to stay with those sentences. I want you to stay with those paragraphs. Don't just write it and move on. I want you to spend some time and attach some emotion, attach some energy to that, because when you do that, that allows you to be successful. And then I want you to commit to a daily visualization practice. Don't just let it be something that's on the paper or in your journal. Go ahead and write it, and then on your calendar, 5 minutes a day, I want you to go ahead and put that in the journal, or put that on your calendar, so that you will be practicing this over and over and over again. Remember that when we are doing this, if we're not practicing, we are not giving ourselves the best possibility for success. The more you do it, the more you look at it, the more you change it and look at it and do different things, the better it's going to be as we are moving into the space of success. Yeah. You guys love that? Man, I'm so excited to be out here. I got into some neighborhoods that I didn't, well, I don't know the neighborhood, so not that I got into new neighborhoods, but I did do some exploration, and that was great to just be out and be able to walk around. Of course, I don't think they're used to people just walking around with the camera, so right now, some people are looking at me. People got out of my way, but that's okay. Okay. All right. So we're coming back in just a minute so we conclude this episode. So visualization is a powerful tool for success. When you can visualize it, you can create that environment in your mind. When you can visualize your success, you're more likely to achieve it. Now here's the thing. Visualization creates motivation, creates focus, and it creates direction, and it gives energy. You see that? Yeah, we were talking about the DEF, right? Direction, energy, and focus. Now, visualization adds to that motivation. You can do it. Each day that you come, each day that you show up, you're adding another piece to the puzzle. You are saying that I'm showing up for myself, that I'm doing what I need to do to be successful. I'm so glad that you've joined me for one more episode of my 100-day walk to consistency. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you tomorrow on day number 78.